My name is Emily Teubner. I am here from WRSU FM New Brunswick with Beau Dega. We're going to be talking about his new record that was just recently released. Beau Dega, if you want to introduce yourself before we get started, go for it.
Hey, I'm Beau Dega. I'm a musician from Brooklyn. Um, and
Wonderful.
I just released a new album.
Yeah, I basically did your introduction for you. Sorry about that.
It's okay.
Okay, so we can get started. So congratulations on your new release. I'm a big fan. It's so good. It came out November 13th. So yeah,
Thank
and
you.
it's amazing that that's already your second record this year. Can you tell me about like the creative process that went down when you were producing Holy Cannoli?
Yeah. So Holy Cannoli isn't so the album that I released earlier in the year is not it's a compilation of stuff that I did when I was young. I mean, I'm still young, but like years ago from 2011 to 2017. So Holy Cannoli is a follow-up to my album before called Sleeping Alone that came out in 2017.
Mhm.
Um which was like basically me recording everything on my little cassette recorder, and I needed to uh I wanted to make sure I was able to play the songs live. Holy Cannoli is kind of taking that but pushing it a little bit more in a direction where it's a little cleaner. Well, it's a lot cleaner actually, and it's digital, and it's uh, my goal was for it to sound a little, smoother. The goal was like, if Sleeping Alone is my 60s album where there's a lot of reverb and stuff like that, then Holy Cannoli is my 70s album where there's a lot more synth, there's a lot more harmonies and drier drums and stuff like that.
Very
Yeah.
cool. Yes, and you mentioned that you do like the production
Yeah,
yourself.
I do everything in my bedroom.
Okay.
Uh
Yeah, I see the guitars, the
yeah, I have my guitars, there's like some drums that are by my
Mhm.
feet and stuff like that, and yeah, I do everything myself. And I started working on Holy Cannoli about 3 years ago, when I right after I finished Sleeping Alone. And it just took me a while to really get like the sound down that I was looking for. The first song that I wrote for it was It's Love.
Mhm.
And like I pretty much recorded everything except for the second half of it. I didn't really know what I was gonna do because it sort of has a big crescendo. But for once I finished the song Bombs, uh I knew what I wanted it to sound like. I knew what I wanted the whole album to kind of sound like, because I set sort of strict rules for myself that I'll have like taped around my computer, that are like I bet I actually have them not too far away, but they're like, you know, don't rely on distortion too much, less less uh big drums, more harmony, stuff like that. They're just little notes to keep myself having a trying to make something somewhat consistent while still, you know varying the songs and stuff like that.
Yeah. So like was consistency something that was like a little bit harder to achieve with this because it took 3 years for the
S-
whole album to, I guess, come together?
Surprisingly, no, because a lot of my equipment is the same.
Oh, okay.
So it's like, yeah, I mean, like this microphone, uh which I stole from a high school when I was running sound there once.
Mhm.
Um, I was like, okay, that's my vocal mic. Like, I'm not gonna switch it up. Like, my drum sounds are my drum sounds for the whole album. Which some of them I'm playing live, and some of them I like sampled them and I had to play them on my keyboard because I live in an apartment and I can't do the million drum takes that I do.
Yeah.
Um, And so because like before I used to move around a lot. Like my parents are divorced, so I would go back and forth between house and house, and I would record in other people's, you know, apartments and houses and stuff like that. I would use their drums and stuff like that. But this time it was like, okay, I'm just in this apartment in Brooklyn, and let's see what I could do. So luckily it sounds, I would like to say it sounds pretty much, you know, as consistent and as where it's I wanted it to, because I'm an album guy, you know, so it sounds like an album, even
Yeah.
though every song is as different as I could make him.
Yeah. No, it does like it's really interesting because all of the songs like they definitely take different elements from different genres and like on their own like sometimes I'm like, "Oh my gosh, this is the same guy." But like when they all are like together, you can see like the cohesiveness, which is really cool.
Thank you.
Yeah. So your music, like you said that like on your Bandcamp and stuff that like you gain a lot of inspiration from like R&B, 60s pop and
Mhm.
shoegaze. Do you have like any specific artists from these genres that you like turn to for inspiration or is it more of a genre thing?
There's definitely some uh yeah, specifics. I mean, for R&B, I'm a huge Prince fan, just in general. I know he does more than just R&B, or did more than just R&B. Um 60s pop, I love like Motown stuff and the Beatles and um James Brown, and I don't know, just a whole bunch of stuff. Beach Boys, a lot of Phil Spector stuff.
Mhm.
Um and what was the other one? Shoegaze. Shoegaze I love. My Bloody Valentine was one of the bands that like it was like, okay, I
Mhm.
want to know how to do that. And then I spent kind of years kind of copying the my own approximation of what the guitar sound was, and I don't really do that as much anymore, but there's still elements of that. I like the big full sound. Uh yeah, and I have a playlist that actually doesn't have much of that on it, but I have a playlist that I put on Spotify of what inspired Holy Cannoli.
Oh, okay.
So it's like because people, you know, would keep asking like, you know, what were your inspirations for Holy Cannoli? So I was just like, you know what, I should just like put something together, and it's on my page on Spotify if you look at it, and I mean there's a whole bunch of tracks on there. Uh there's some Marvin Gaye, there's some Prince, there's some Spice Girls, there's The
Whoa.
Cure, uh um you know, just stuff from all over the place, all over like time and stuff like that. I mean, like I got one song that's from like the early 50s, and you know, there's some stuff that came out I think just last year. So all over the place the
I will have to check
inspirations
that
came
out,
from.
definitely. Um, so do you think that there's any styles of music that like you haven't experimented with that you would be interested in trying out?
I
Like,
haven't ever rapped. I've never done that. I don't know if I would. I guess the closest to it I do is on Bombs or on Generation Priced Out.
yeah,
I've made beats before in the past, but I've never done that. And I've never made a oh, I guess that's not true cuz the house song is kind of like an EDM song.
yeah, that's one of my favorites. I
Thank you.
love that one. Um,
um
so
yeah. Yeah, I guess that's, I'm sure there's I don't really have a lot of jazz. I don't, there's not like it's my stuff's kind of jazzy, but um it's not like straight up jazz. So
yeah,
I guess that'll be my answer.
okay, yeah, because you definitely you have like the speaking vocal parts within
Hmm.
that like are really cool, but rap would definitely be something very interesting. I would love to see how you would make rap your own.
Well, I'd also love to just collaborate with other people too.
Yeah.
Like that's something that's like in the future, I what I would really like to do is have other people involved partially because I'm kind of tired of making everything myself,
Mhm.
but like also just because I think it's time. There's like this album, like my other albums before, they're all kind of like my calling card. I'm like, hey, like
Mhm.
I could do all this stuff. Do you want to make music with me?
Oh, yeah.
Um,
It, like, acts like a
so
portfolio.
yeah, like that's kind of the goal in the future is to have more people involved so that I hopefully don't have to do
Mhm.
everything.
Yeah, 'cause you worked with, like, 2 musicians on Holy Cannoli, right? There was the saxophone
Yeah,
and
saxophone
the
and flute was all
flute.
it was one person's my good friend Dylan McDonnell, who is on Instagram as Flute by the Foot,
Oh,
which is a
very
great
clever.
name. Yeah, he's a good friend of mine who I met when I lived in New Haven, and I'd bounce my songs to him and be like, "Is this good?" Because now living in the world that we're living in, I can't perform anything live.
Mm.
So yeah, I worked with him, and it was just him. He was the only. The other person that is credited is the Jeff who did the album artwork. He took a
That's
bunch of
very
pictures of
cool.
me, and then put that together.
Yeah. So that's cool. Maybe more collaborations in the future. We will see what's to come.
Fingers crossed.
Yes, fingers crossed. So one of my like top three, I guess, in Holy Cannoli is I don't like rich people.
Okay.
Can we talk more about like the inspiration behind this track? I like if it's something specific or more of the general eat the rich situation.
It's definitely. I mean, like I grew up working class. I'm from Connecticut,
Mhm.
so uh, like my dad's a truck driver and he fixes driveways. Like, and I've literally worked for him or with him at some point in my life from like age 7 to around like 16. Like most of my life I've always worked. um so growing up in Norwalk, I really saw uh just sort of the difference between you know class in this country, just right before me. Same goes for when I lived in New Haven, because there was a lot of that there. It was like, you'd have people who went to Yale who would, try to not look at anything else other than the Yale area. And, they had their own exclusive bars and stuff like that. And I don't know, it's just not really for me. I would like see Martha Stewart all the time and like all these like, you know, huge rich people, and I don't like them.
Plain and
It's kind
simple.
of just, I don't know. It's something that like, because I've gotten comments on it when they're just like, well, when you're rich, you probably won't feel that way. And I'm like, I don't know. Like, I have felt that way. Like, when I've been around, like, when I was in social situations where it's like, let's say I was going out with someone who was a millionaire, because that did happen. So I don't know why I'm saying it like it's a hypothetical. Um, and it was just like, it's just, we just view things differently.
So you mentioned that like COVID has affected like your employment and everything. Now,
Hmm.
no, I guess you're not unemployed. You're a full-time musician. That's it.
Yeah,
That's how you
that's
convert it.
I'm finally a full-time musician.
There you go. Maybe not the way that we expected, but it
Right.
worked out. Yeah. So like how has COVID like changed your, I guess like perspective on like being a musician now that you've had so much more time to like put into your music?
Well, part of it is that it's been actually really beneficial,
Mhm.
because there wouldn't have been as long of a gap between albums. Like the 3-year gap, it wouldn't have existed. Holy Cannoli probably would have sounded really differently. But if I didn't lose my job, I wouldn't have the time to work on my music as much. And it's something that it's like, it's sort of, uh, it was very inspiring in the way where it's like, I saw this happen with my mom as well. My mom was a singer songwriter, and then she started a family, and, that dream kind of got pushed aside. and she was always very supportive of myself and my brother, who's also a musician. He's an opera singer, and he, runs a theater, and he's a voice teacher. He's 4 years older, so Joe got to really like, he's the astronaut. He did everything first, and then I got to kind of see what I was doing. I'm like, okay, well, he's in horrible debt from going to the conservatory that he went to. So I didn't have good grades in high school. So one, I couldn't get into a school like that anyway, but I'm not going to, go along that path. However, I did still want to pursue music. And everything leading up till then was always just like a variety of part-time jobs, and just like, well, like, oh, you just do your little music thing on the side. And I'm just like, but I don't want to.
Yeah.
Like, I just want to make music. So there's been a big benefit from COVID, where it's just like, I mean, I've always kind of been a homebody to begin with, because I was always just working on music, whenever I wasn't working. I never really went out much. I don't really go to a lot of live shows. I know I should. I mean, now it's not
Yeah,
even an
not as much.
option, but
Yeah.
like, because I don't drink, like, I'll occasionally have like a beer, and
Mhm.
like, just be like, yeah, I'm a normal human being. But like,
Here's my cup.
yeah, it's really like, I don't know. I'm not the best in big groups and stuff like that. I was already kind of agoraphobic to begin with. So, um COVID just gave me a lot of time to it gave me the time to put everything together for the album I did in May, which was, I went through like over 300 songs. Like, I went through so much material between 2011 and 2017 that I made, because I was just writing songs like crazy. And some of them are just like, I thought that it was going to be a lot more of just like demos, but there's a lot more like fully produced songs on it than I thought would have been.
Mhm.
Um, and it kind of got me to reevaluate, what it is that I do as a musician, and what I've done in the past, because I'm not a very nostalgic person. Uh, I don't really like harp on the past, but I also don't like, when everyone's always like, you just need to be in the now. Well, I do live in the now,
Yeah.
and the problem with it is that you don't plan for the future.
Oh.
um, but there is uh, there was a benefit of me actually like looking back. I got the time to look back and, just sort of see what it is that I did. It's what inspired some of the songs that, because this album was the first one I did in a relationship, and I sort of realized that I didn't have to be depressed to make music, because I'm not really depressed anymore.
Yeah.
Um, and going through my songs on Oof sort of helped me realize, I'm like, well, a lot of these songs are just kind of written out of spite, and just like, uh, out of pettiness, which I don't know if that's the healthiest thing either, but it did help me write songs like I Don't Like Rich People and DIY Scene and Soft Boy. Yeah,
Mhm.
like there's a bunch of songs that are just kind of me sort of being like, screw you.
Yeah.
So
I I saw that you said that you're already working on music for the spring. Is that all new stuff? Is that older stuff with new stuff? Like what's
I
going on
got
with that?
there's a couple songs that didn't make it onto the album. Um, I think two or three that just like, I was working on them already, and they didn't work with the flow of everything, because I really wanted it to be like as cohesive, and as, I didn't really want any like dips in the album where I'm like, oh, this song like could have been left off.
Yeah.
Like, if I had that feeling, I was just like, oh, I'll just leave it off. Um, so I think that's what I'm gonna do in the spring, is I'm gonna release those, and maybe put a couple new ones in as well, because I'm always working on stuff just in general. So yeah, that's my goal for the spring, is to release like a little 4-track album
Okay.
and probably call it Just Desserts. But I
Just
don't.
words.
That's what
I
I'm
like
thinking.
that. And then it ties in with the cannoli.
Right, exactly. That's what I
Yeah,
was thinking.
that's a good name. Good stuff. Yeah, I'm excited. I will be looking forward to that. But yeah, that's all. I've gone through the list. I am checked off.
All
So
right, great.
yeah, if there's anything else you want to talk about, let me know. But if not,
um,
yeah,
yeah, I don't know. I guess I would just tell people just to follow me on Instagram,
yeah.
because that's what I'm most active on these days.
Yes, you're very into Instagram. I love it. It's Beau.Dega, right?
Yes. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's really like, I can't, because I used to be on Twitter and I am still on it, but I don't really know what to say
Mhm.
anymore. Um, and I am on TikTok, but I just feel old.
Oh, I
I,
have to follow your TikTok now.
I just feel so old on TikTok. I don't even really know what to do. There's a couple where I'm just like reacting to things, and like there's one where I'm just like ranting about how I don't like Donald Trump.
Oh, word.
Um and like I don't know, my TikTok is like, it's like so dry. It's not good. But
Yeah,
like, hey, by all means, if people followed me, I would come up with a reason to entertain them. It's kind of like when I'm playing a show and there's no one there and I'm like, well, why am I doing this? Because
yeah,
that's what it's like for Twitter too. I have like no followers anymore, because I started a new account.
yeah.
But
No,
I'm on there.
this has been lots of fun. Thank you for hanging out with me.